Hello, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on Sports Illustrated and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast with another exclusive heading it out right here. It's me and Johnny. Jonathan Shop, as you know, is a terrifically decorated journalist as well as a highly successful attorney in the Atlanta Buckhead area. And he's joined me now for almost 20 years to talk sports each and every week. And he's back again. John, we love to talk about Raiders and the NFL in this, and there was a bombshell in the NFL we're going to get into this week. But before we do, I was at the NFL owners meetings, and I had someone drop something in my ear that I knew I had to talk to you about. They were talking about Tom Brady and his need to be careful. And I said, "All right, why is that?" And he said, "Raiders fans hate the Patriots. They hate them because of the Tuck rule. I mean, John, it's as bad as Michigan State, Michigan. And every time a Patriot gets brought in here, I mean, Josh McDaniels is fired a year and a half into his tenure. And he said, if I am Tom Brady and I'm not moving there to run it day to day, and he's not, I still think he's probably 4 years away from that, in my opinion. He said, do you go pick a rookie quarterback, which you have a 60% failure rate, and change a head coach? Because if you're wrong on both, the fans are going to turn on you, and you may be an owner, but if the fan base hates you, you're in a world of hurt. Or does he slow play it? They go select a quarterback. They let Antonio Pierce have another year, see how he gets developed. And then you're at least not starting with a locker room that's furious that you fired the coach they love and they still are fighting for him. I thought it was a fascinating thought process. And the guy said to me, Tom has been spoiled in New England. Not all franchises are like that. And I don't think he understands this fan base yet and the depth of both their toxicity and love, which, you know, being an attorney, it's a fine line between love and hate. And he just said, I suspect that he knows and understands. He goes, I don't know that I could see him picking a rookie quarterback and firing a coach. He said he might. He's pretty confident in himself, but I certainly wouldn't recommend him doing it. What are your thoughts on that?
The first thought that comes to mind is, who is Tom Brady going to talk to about, do I dip my toe in? Do I blow the whole thing up and just storm in there? Knowing myself, Tom Brady, knowing myself. Tom Brady should know himself by now, know his lack of patience, know his demands, know his standards are very high. He also should know, like Gretzky knew, Magic knew, Larry Bird knew, other greats knew, not everybody's up to that. The great Nick Saban quote, of course, comes to mind about average people versus extraordinary people. So he's got to know that, know his strengths, know his weaknesses. Like, hey, you know, I may want to run in there and do this and all this stuff, but maybe that's not the right idea. So I'd be curious who he's going to talk to about that. I'm also really curious about what is he going to do with the other Tom in the building? Is he going to match with Tom Telesco? Are they going to work together? Is he going to basically become a de facto general manager? Well, are there some warning signs of trouble? Yes, there are. Dan Marino, was he GM for a week? Michael Jordan trying to coach. Magic Johnson trying to coach. Michael Jordan trying to GM. There's also some real success. Wayne Gretzky figured out how to be a really good coach in the NHL. Larry Bird.
Stevie Yzerman.
Yeah, Yzerman's tremendous general manager. Larry Bird, he could still be coach of the NBA doing his thing. So Brady needs to figure out, how do I want to come into this situation? There's certainly a case to be made for slow playing it, for dipping your toe in the water, for trying to New England the draft and get some draft picks to stack on it. There's also millions of Raider fans who want to win now, want to tear the whole thing up and go. Let's just do this thing 1 year at a time. We don't care. We're going in there. We're going to raid the place. It's tricky. He needs to figure out what he wants to do, because we have seen not only success one place. I think we probably underestimate what Tom Brady feels about the success that he had at Tampa Bay. and whether Tom Brady feels like he could have done that again if he had kept playing. That last like, I'm not going to do another retirement video, and I kind of hinted that he was still going to play again. That counted a lot, although a lot of people looked over it. So what is he going to do? What does his evaluation of the roster, how does that match with Telesco? How does that match with Pierce? And we talked about this a bit before, and I'm not just pointing at it because Vrabel is out there, but are we going to run into a situation where he's like, give me that guy from New England, that guy from New England, that guy? Maybe that works, or maybe you Steve Spurrier and fall on your face. That would be really, really bad. I haven't thought about what I would do because I didn't buy a piece of the franchise, but I hope that he has thought about what he would do, and I hope he's talked to folks around the league. My thinking, and I don't want to sound like, Carl the conservative, I would try to shore up the things that we know we're going to need to be a consistently winning franchise. You can say, as boring as that is, maybe at the point of attack back, if you think there's going to be other quarterbacks available 25, 26, 27 and on, I should say beyond 25. If you also think, like you've talked about a million times, there is the guy to be your quarterback for the decade or whatever it is, even if he sits for a year, which is not going to happen in Las Vegas unless they get a veteran, I think he pulls that trigger. There is always, not always, this situation, the flirtation with Shedeur Sanders and or Dion and the Raiders is unique. I don't remember stuff like this happening before. There's a lot going on. He's got a lot to do, and he's on TV. I'm actually curious who he's talking to. That is my.
And Mark Davis told me this week at the owners' meetings, he promised Fox, he promised them, I will not interfere with anything that has to do with his Fox career, why that's going on. So there's that. All right, John, real quick, I just want to reiterate that the person I spoke to at the owner meeting said that if he was Tom, he would take it slow because Tom isn't moving there to run the day-to-day. So I thought that was a big deal. All right, let's go now to Brock Bowers real quick. Then we got to get to the NFL. Dude, this kid, I've been telling you since he got here, he's on another planet. He behaves, he acts like, conducts himself like a veteran, and man, this kid's good.
So you've got a combination of a very high football IQ. You've got a combination of a guy that lives, studies the game, understands the game, has an edge. He's got a physical edge, and he's doing things at a high level right now. What I heard last week, our two back from Belichick was like, Gronk wasn't Gronk when he got to New England. He went from here all the way there, and Tom Brady gets a lot of credit for it. Bowers shows up to Las Vegas all ready to go. We will talk about this after the season, but it's not just Atlanta who whiffed taking Bowers. How many other teams whiffed taking this guy? When you said that people around the sport who knew what they were talking about said this was a dude, some people were like, I don't really know what that means. They get the picture now. This is the one guy you have to game plan for when you play against the Raiders, and he's still beating people. He's got a physical advantage. He's got a mental advantage. The fun thing for Raiders fans, he's just getting started. He is a rare tight end that has the ability to elevate everybody around him on the offense. And as soon as next year, we should see that begin to go. We have seen enough of that. Raider fans have seen enough of that in Kansas City. They've seen enough of the tight end, like, elevate the whole thing. And then they got a quarterback, and then they're getting the calls and all this stuff. If the Raiders play straight, if they do the right thing, they got a guy to build around. They've got a difference maker that can do so many different things, create so many different mismatches. And to their credit, they appear to be doing some good things with him, putting him and others in positions to succeed. My point is, when you get some more talent in the other positions, look out. This thing is going to take off pretty quick.
I agree with you. All right. I really want to talk about Hard Knocks, but we got to get to the bombshell that is Belichick. He could have coached in the NFL. I know for a fact teams were interested. He chose to go to North Carolina. He wanted to go to North Carolina. I'm not speaking for him, but God bless him. He's got a 24-year-old girlfriend. I guess he feels like he relates to the younger generation pretty well. and he thinks that North Carolina will become the go-to place like Alabama was with Saban for
He better
NFL players.
he,
Go
he
ahead.
better relate to him well, because he's going to start talking to teenagers for the first time in a long time. Let's talk about what this is. We got a lot of angles here to talk about. This is fascinating. You've got a guy that is preparing to go to Atlanta. He's going to reboot, fresh start. Hey, some things I can do differently in Atlanta. He's also got some people saying, hey, there's actually some innovative stuff that he's done at the tail end on the defensive side of the ball, maybe in New England. That'll be interesting. So he's going down to Atlanta. He's going to have Kirk Cousins. Who knows? Maybe he takes Bowers in the draft, and he's getting ready to go. And all of a sudden, the rug gets pulled out from him. He's looking around, and it's gone. It's musical chairs. Now you get into a real change. Some very different stuff has happened with Bill Belichick since then. He's gone on not just TV. He's got TV shows, got a coach podcast. He's on all over the place. He's got a new personal relationship. And then this is the massivest change you could possibly see, something that we really could not foresee. All those old day rumors of John Gruden going here or there, and Mike Tomlin going here and there, and people are like, this is ridiculous. I remember Tomlin even getting upset with the media, like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm the coach of the Steelers. Why in the world would I consider a college job? Go ask Andy Reid. All that stuff's out the window now. Now, let me talk about what this reminds me of. A guy has a reservation at the restaurant. He goes there all the time. He's there all the time. They love it. He loves it. He goes there all the time. He goes there one day, and the reservation, they like, I don't know. We don't have your reservations. Oh, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know how this happened. Stay right there. We're going to try to work you in. So he sits in the waiting room. He's there for 10 minutes. He's there for 20 minutes, getting a little itchy. And then after 30 minutes or so, he loses his patience and says, screw it. I'm going to Arby's or Chick-fil-A, and that's it. That's what this looks like here. This is so bizarre. It does remind you of Michael Jordan going to play minor league baseball. It may not look bizarre in a couple years. It's shockingly bizarre right now. Not because of the record thing. Who cares? But this may not even be the second or third best college job that comes due or comes open this year. We don't know what's going to happen yet. We don't know how many guys are going to say, I stay in college too long, or I'm out, or get fired, or whatever. This is shocking. It is at the same time outstanding for the practically non-important ACC past a couple schools. I think it's going to be good for North Carolina football, although I don't think it's really made a dent, because that's always going to be a basketball first spot. This is one of the more fascinating professional moves we have seen. This is not Joe Gibbs going from football to NASCAR, back to football, back to NASCAR, and just staying at a Hall of Fame level. This could be phenomenal for what I call college pro football, which is college football now. This could also be a very strange odyssey for one of the best pro football coaches of all time. There's a lot going on there. There's going to be people throwing their 2 cents of psychological analysis in. We are going to watch it all. It's going to be very interesting to see, but I would have been less. I can't think, what would have been more surprising? Bill Belichick goes to the Jets or goes to North Carolina to coach college football?
North Carolina, it's not even close.
It's not even close. But this is, it shocks me. It seems like a guy that lost his patience or got frustrated, and he's just like, screw it, I'm leaving. I don't know why he did that. The college, the pro jobs that are going to come.
You know why I think he did it? I think he did it because he doesn't care. Because the record doesn't matter to him. He just loves football. If there'd been an opening at Army, if there'd been an opening at Army, I think he would have went to Army. I think if Central Michigan would have called him, he would have went to Central. It's a guy that you think I'm kidding, but remember, Barry Sanders retired because he didn't want to break the record of Jim Brown. I'm telling you.
You know what? Here's the thing. If that is it, if he took this job because I like that job, I want to coach. If so, that's the absolute best reason he could ever take that job. And it's going to be awesome and incredibly successful. And it will transform at least the ACC, if not college. If he is going to go in there and coach the pants off of everybody and destroy them, they're going to be like, oh, I got a lot to learn. Now, it's shocking. They're going to prepare for Richmond, the University of Charlotte, Wake Forest. It's like, what? So if he goes in there and runs circles around him, the level of football at the college level is going to all rise. People are going to be like, oh, we got to do that. We got to teach it that way. We got an offensive line coach that, what? They got some guys at North Carolina just destroyed Texas or something outstanding. If that happens, he becomes a huge story. And if he goes, just like you said, if he just said, I want to coach and this is the best job I've got, fantastic for him. It's going to be awesome and successful. For right now, though, it is a shock across the entire college and pro football landscape like we cannot imagine. And folks, as you know, the people in this sport, they're not really going to tell you what they think on air. Good luck getting that from anybody that's actively in the sport, because there've got to be people with real strong opinions about what he's done. There's a guy named Kraft I'd really like to hear from. We will never hear what he really thinks of what happened here.
So I was told this week, I was talking to a very successful college coach, and I would talk to him about some stuff in the college game, but we talked about Bill Belichick. And he said, I want you to think about this, because I mentioned to him, why do you not go to a better school, a more football savvy school? And he said to me, have you ever been to Chapel Hill? It's beautiful. He goes, so picture this. You're a kid that has real dreams of the NFL, and the NIL money is the same everywhere. Why would you not go to Belichick that says, I'm going to have 32 scouts in here every week looking at you? When I pick up the phone and talk about you, people are going to listen. And now I'm not going to do it if you don't put the maximum effort in every day in practice. But if you do, I'll get you. I mean, he goes, who wouldn't go there? And then you don't have all of the drama of the other places and the other schools. He just thinks it's phenomenal. And he thinks, this guy told me, and I don't know whether or not he talked to Bill or not, but he was pretty emphatic. He said, I think Bill saw what Deion did, handling Colorado like a pro, and thought, all right, I can do that. I'm not going to do a lot of high school recruiting. Huh?
Yeah, that part of it is fascinating. I hadn't thought about what he's observed since he's been out. But, you know, for a lot of people know that Research Triangle area, if you like being around smart people, and Belichick obviously does, that's a fantastic place to live. Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, the Research Triangle, there's a lot of smart people there. It doesn't surprise me that he'd be attracted to that area. And I realize a lot of folks don't maybe know that much about it on other parts of the country. But what you're talking about there, that angle, is not something I necessarily thought of. We probably are underestimating the transformation of college pro football, because we're seeing it in real time, and we're seeing shocking stuff happen like Deion and now Belichick. And guess what? North Carolina went from who cares to literally every week must see. And as you mentioned, are you serious about getting your football education? You really want to play pro football? You want to be prepared? It's a no-brainer. Unless Saban comes back, then you think, oh, maybe I can go either way. To me, it's pretty much a no-brainer. You want to check in with North Carolina immediately to see if they have a spot for you. You make a lot of sense.
I think Deion is transformative to the game of football, and I think he had a big thing on Belichick. All right, Hard Knocks. Is this the best one yet?
It's the best in-season one yet, without a question.
Wow.
And listen, everybody who listens to this, and hello, Poway. Hello, Poway. You're the city of the day for me. Poway, all the Raider fans in Poway. Hello. AFC North is great. Mike Tomlin is great. We've never gotten to see behind the steel curtain. Now we're getting to see it. I like it. The Ravens with their little, it looks like a little town thing there in Owings Mill. That's interesting. We're getting to see two of the great franchises, two of the most stable franchises, and we're getting to see a tremendous coaching job in a horrific situation. Tie an arm and a half behind your back with the quarterback situation in Cleveland. And Kevin Stefanski, to me, stands out phenomenally. And you see a lot of good and a lot of are the Bengals, what's going on there? Are they really, that's their facility? This is the best one yet. Look, the Cardinals thing was crazy. The Colts falling on their face in season Hard Knocks was interesting to see. This is the blueprint. I love this show. Marty Callner and company, brilliant. What I want to see next year is one of these division things. We are inside the tightest division. We are learning so much about divisional play, and this has been awesome so far. AFC North Hard Knocks.
Can somebody please, for their own good, shut the Eagles up?
You would hope so. So we talked about this at the start of the year. They didn't want to go to Brazil. They got stinky about it. Now they know what time of year it is. They really got the thing going together. And all of a sudden, people are starting to put their feet in their mouth, whether it's the wide receiver, whether it is a very solid, awesome all-time Eagle who's injured, Brandon Graham, tripping over his words on a radio. They got to stop it, because what happens, for those that don't know, it's not always sunny in Philadelphia, and that's a city that likes to chirp. So the more you give people the fodder, the worse it gets. What are you doing, Eagles? You got it going. You look like you're heading towards a Super Bowl. Your mouths are going to get you in trouble. Now, does Jalen Hurts need to go pull people by the neck and tell them to shut up? I don't think that's going to be received well, and I don't think that's the kind of guy he is. But he may have to do it one time. The Eagles need to shut it. They need to understand that they are really on the right track. Are they going to beat themselves? Are we going to sit here and talk about how the Eagles beat themselves and we're yelling at each other when they lost in the playoffs on the sideline? I don't know, but that is now in the building. It should not be.
John, let's talk about the Frustration Bowl Monday night.
The Bengals and the Cowboys. Whoa, boy. So you have the Bengals, who it feels like have been overshadowed by contract offseason last and contract offseason coming. The Bengals have spun their tires this year. It feels like their window kind of closed. Maybe we look back on it and think they overachieved when they got to a Super Bowl. A lot of people look at it and they say, I love this quarterback. Troy Aikman saying this guy could have played anytime, anywhere. Just 90s quarterback, 2000s, he's great. All that stuff is true. You got them grinding. What do they have to play for? And then you've got the Cowboys that have had just an abomination of a season. They got players running off the field. They got, just not gone well. Instability all over. How about that one? That was wild, seeing Micah Parsons run off like that. It was wild to see a Leon Lett type play come in. It wasn't a surprise given how the season has gone for the Cowboys. Cowboy fans, you just need to try to settle down, get through the year, try to regroup. This hopefully is a one-off year for them, like 1 year. They're just going way, way, way askew. For the Bengals, I'd be more concerned. I'd be more concerned if I were them. We talked about some of the issues in locker rooms with contracts. Bill Polian was on this show. What he said is going to keep on playing in many of our heads. I think we saw both of those things play into each of those teams' seasons. And when they get into the offseason, that is going to be in the air for both of those franchises that played in that little frustration bowl on Monday night.
All right, before we get to our fearsome foursome, John, real quick, I have a real problem with the NFL Hall of Fame. And here, I have it with all of them. To me, there should be a 10-year window where a guy can get elected, and not even that, a 5-year window. It has to be retired 5 years to make sure that or deceased. But to me, if you have to wonder about a guy, he's not a Hall of Famer. Now, I have one caveat. People back before the modern media age, I have no problem with an old timers committee who go back and look at those guys. It's just like in baseball. I one time sat down with Warren Spahn. I got to be with him at his house in Hartshorn, Oklahoma, one of the greatest pitchers of all time. And we were talking about pitching and how it's changed. I've shared the story 100 times. I won't tell it again, but we were talking about the Hall of Fame, and he looked at me and he goes, you got to remember some of the best players back in the day were in the Negro Leagues. And he said, it is unfair that they're not in the Hall of Fame. It was people's ignorance that kept them out of Major League Baseball. So in those type of situations, I get that. If it's before modern media age, so somebody living in California didn't get to see a guy in New England. I get that. But other than those things, I'm tired of this. Let's present our cases. Let's look at it. Either a guy belongs or he doesn't. And if there's a debate, he doesn't belong, John. We're giving this away like a participation trophy. Where am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong, but we see where the trend is going. And I'm not going to pick on Curtis Martin, but that's like the first example that comes to mind. Some of the names on this list, we saw their entire careers. They wouldn't be considered Hall of Fame level in the 70s, 80s, et cetera. So what we have here is a Hall of Fame in the state of Ohio that is changing its mission and or watering itself down, kind of like the one that was once called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that started expanding the pop music, not all rock and roll, which is fine, but you still call yourself the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's a mismatch. And what happens is people start to ignore it and say that's junk. We're going to sound old. We're both in the same mindset here. We're talking about the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Good. Hat tip to Chris Carter. The problem is the Hall of Good is taking over. I mean, no-brainer guys. We're talking about no-brainer guys, Reggie White type guys. We're not talking about guys that have big stats because they went from 10 games to 14 to 16. We're not talking about guys that were, we're not talking about guys that are.
Todd Christensen belongs in the Hall of Fame. And they're saying, but look at some of these modern guys' stats. You're right, with multiple more games.
And a totally different sport relative to passing the ball. I am with you. My concern is there's not enough people in those rooms. There's not enough people around the Pro Football Hall of Fame that see it as we are doing as empirical analysis as we can to identify the absolute best players in the history of pro football versus how do we grow our business? How do we make sure we have enough guys from each conference, from each team that are in there? What's the purpose of the thing? I am a little concerned that it's not to the extent of that ridiculous Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, but that it's going that way. And with the interest of Benson and et cetera, to build a village there, which is fine. What I didn't see when they're like, hey, we're going to build this whole village thing, make it the capital of football, if you will. I didn't see that they were going to start watering it down with people that were really good, maybe had 3 or 4 great years, but they weren't Darrell Green. They weren't John Elway. They were not Ronnie Lott. They weren't Marcus Allen. They never would be.
Deion Sanders.
Yeah, but they're in the Hall of Fame. The problem with this to me is this. Once you go over that line to starting to trend towards the Hall of Really Good, it doesn't go back. And it's
let me say something to you, okay? I thought Curtis Martin was a great running back. I know people that played with him, good guy, a very good running back. Pretty much everybody would have wanted him. He wasn't a Hall of Famer. He was a great player when he played, but he wasn't a Hall of Famer. It's just ridiculous.
And I don't want, I like Sterling Sharp. We all know what happened to his neck. He might have been a Hall of Famer, but I don't know that he was a Hall of Famer. I'm not trying to pick on him. Some of the other names, it's difficult. We sound old. We probably are.
Get off our lawn.
Yeah, but it used to not be that way. And we're not picking on Martin, but it started getting watered down. And it's like, really? That guy, these guys are, come on. They're up for, they won 2 Super Bowls. Okay, but what did they actually do? You talk about Todd Christensen. So many people out there played that Tecmo Bowl where he was kicking everybody in the tail. They know how good he was. Other guys, I understand, hey, you can't see what this quarterback did before the snap. You can't see all the impact that he had. And of course, Peter King's very famous advocacy over and over and over for Art Monk as a possession receiver. I understand that. I want to be a place for that. But when you hear Rich Goslin and other guys talk about what those rooms are like now, and you see these names on the list, sometimes you're like, that's really pretty good player on a really good team that has fantastic stats, but he didn't jump off the building or off the page or off the non-HD TV to say, hey, Taylor, Banks, they're out there killing people. There's no brainer Hall of Famer. You think Hall of Famer we need to keep an eye out for guys that are like no doubt Hall of Famers. And when you see them, you should know them. Is Devin Hester a Hall of Famer, or was he a guy that had a fantastic run for a handful of years? It's not for us to decide, but the shape of that thing is changing. It's becoming bigger. I worry that its primary interest is in a business capacity now rather than identifying the all-time greatest players in pro football, which originally was the mission of that building.
All right, let's talk now our fearsome foursome. Where are we on the year?
Even, just like even old Steven. Now we have real games that matter. Let's talk about a measuring stick game. You know what I'm talking about. Bills at Lions. Does it matter? It's a measuring stick. Both of them. This is what you're going to see if you're playing for a Super Bowl or a conference championship. Bills at Lions.
Lions.
Lions are at home. I'm going with the Bills. I'm going with the Bills. They're going to spoil the chili. Somebody's going to be spoiled after that one. Now, we have a game that must be won by Green Bay. They know they must win. They are hosting Seattle, including Jackson Smith and Jigba. They know they must win. In this case, I know I'm going out of order. Tight, but I like Green Bay. They got to win.
All right. I'm going Green Bay. Dexter, can you say hi to Uncle John? Say hi.
Hey, Dexter. Dexter, you got to tune in, man, for Washington at New Orleans. Here's why. Washington has to win. If they don't, they're going to spill the chili and fall out of the playoff hunt. New Orleans has nothing to play for, but sometimes there's a little danger of the spoiler there. Here's the thing. Commanders coming off a bye week. Dan Quinn's second time around the block. Commanders at Saints.
Washington's going to win it, and I didn't know you're not going in order. I didn't write them down.
That's okay. I got Washington in that one as well. I have been sold by DQ. The guy loves his team. He loves coaching pro football, and players love playing for Dan Quinn. Now, you've fallen asleep a little bit on Miami. You've fallen asleep a little bit on Houston. Is Houston ready to circle the wagons and try to turn this thing up and maybe surprise some people? Is Miami all the way out of it? We just saw them. Adios, Odell Beckham. It's not his fault. I don't think he can physically perform anymore. This is a strange one. You forgot about Miami. You forgot about Houston out there. I need you folks to pay attention. This one is going to cook. Miami at Houston.
Houston, and I think they win by 10.
I like Houston here. We talked about why. We talked about why before last year. Ryans, Anderson, and of course, Stroud. Houston, get ready to circle the wagons and come make some noise across this country. It starts this week. These are December games. This is when the stuff matters. We are excited across the sport. Those are your featured four for the week.
Dexter, can you tell Uncle John Merry Christmas? Oh, come on, say Merry Christmas. All right, John. Hey, good to see you. Tell everybody where they can find you on X. Oh, now he's telling you bye. Tell everybody where they can find you on X.
I am at JP Spartan. Happy Festivus to all first, and then the Christmas and all the other holidays. Take care, Dexter. I'll see you soon,
By the way, I ordered a Festivus shirt, so I love Festivus for the rest of it.
Go.
All right. Talk to you later, John. Hold on.